welcome back to Rocky's Recap Week 11 in the NFL. So, I'm definitely super late, but please excuse me as I am in paradise. I'm in Hawaii, so I got a little behind the ball. I meant to record yesterday, forgetting that I'm like behind the world in time, so it's going to be super late post. But I appreciate whoever still sticks around to check it out. So, let's start from the top. Thursday night football. Seahawks versus Packers. Packers have now lost 7 straight road games dating back to 2017. It's the longest streak of Rodgers' career as a starter since coming in 2008. Rodgers finished the game with 21 of 30, 332 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and an amazing throw on the move to Tanyan for the touchdown. His 57-yard completion to Adams went 61 yards in the air, the longest completion since week 2. He is now responsible for 3 of 10 of the longest air distance completions this season. Of course, no surprise to anyone. Jones finished with 11 carries, 40 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown, and 5 receptions, 63 yards, with a receiving touchdown as well. He now has 85-plus scrimmage yards and 4 straight games, longest streak of his personal career. Davante Adams going off per usual, 10 receptions, 166 yards. Robert Tanyan, 1 reception, 54 yards, and that touchdown like we talked about. And that's also his first career catch. So that's pretty cool to have his first career catch, go 54 yards, and be a touchdown. So kudos to him stepping up on his one and only target. Defensively for the Packers, there were 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, 7 tackles for a loss. Tremont Williams led the team in tackles with 7 tackles and a fumble recovery. Clay Matthews and Tony Brown both had forced fumbles each. And Kyler Fackrell was pretty much a huge display of presence. He had 6 tackles, 3 sacks, and 4 tackles for a loss. He was great in the pass rush. As a whole, they were good in pass rushing and run defense, as they definitely kept the run game in check. As far as the Seahawks go, they did just enough to basically get the job done. Russell Wilson, 21 of 31, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he rushed 17 yards. Seahawks offense started pretty slow and had a fumble in the opening play, followed by a 3-and-out on the next drive and a false start as well. Penalties on the first 5 drives, but they eventually started to move the ball and did it consistently. Carson on the ground with 17 carries, 83 yards, and a touchdown. He did lose that fumble that we spoke about in the beginning. Penny, 8 carries, 46 yards. Mike Davis, minimal yards. They pretty much contained the run game, as I stated. Tyler Lockett with 5 receptions, 71 yards, and a clutch. He was clutch and stepped up big on some really important catches on 3rd down conversions. David Moore, 4 receptions, 57 yards, a fumble. Doug Baldwin, 7 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. So as you can see, there were a lot of ball security issues, penalties on both sides, and it really just came down to the best defensive performance probably, which defensively speaking for the Seahawks, 5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Bobby Wagner led the team in tackles, 9, and had a tackle for a loss. He made several stops at the line of scrimmage in the run game and gave up almost next to nothing in coverage as well, and he even managed to track Adams down for 50 yards downfield and forced an incompletion. So very impressive performance by Bobby Wagner for sure. Frank Clark with 4 tackles and 2 sacks. Secondary coverage, with the exception of Adams, was great, as a few wide receivers weren't able to get open this game, which put a lot of the pressure in Rodgers' hand longer, and also is a plus for the Seattle pass rush to get there. So Seattle still has not lost 3 straight games since the middle of the 2011 season, and the Seahawks finally closed out a 1-score victory after previously they've lost consecutive close losses to the Chargers and the Rams. Seattle is 1-8 in its previous 9 games decided by a score. So kudos to them on learning how to get it done and finish the game. Seahawks are the only team in the NFL to have 3 different players rush for 100-plus yards in a game this season. So they definitely have a nice little running back tandem back there. Next game, Giants versus Bucks. Most points scored by the Giants at home since 2012. First consecutive wins since 2016. And they won their first home game this season. So shout out to them because they were the last ones to do it. Manning finished 17 of 18, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did have a fumble, but he had a career high 94 completion percent, and 155.8 passer rating. Very impressive performance by Manning, and this was his second best of his career game as far as passer ratings go. Saquon Barkley would finish on the ground with 27 carries, 142 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Obviously a career high. Great performance from him on the ground. And on the ground, but in between the tackles, nose down all the way through the tackles. You know, because we're used to seeing him. He does do that, but he bounces out and does all that. But he was hard diving through the nose, down the middle, smash mouth football. He only received 2 catches for 10 yards this game. He did have a receiving touchdown as well. So a great performance from him, 3 touchdowns, finished the game with 152 yards on the day. He is one of 2 players since 1970 to post 100-plus scrimmage yards in his first 9 of 10 career games. The other person was Eric Dickerson, so he's in good company. He also is the first Giants rookie with 2+ rushing touchdowns and 1+ receiving touchdown in a game since 1965. He is opening up the record books for sure. He is going to be something great to watch throughout the span of his career. The other one, OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., 4 receptions, 74 yards, and a receiving touchdown, 84 total yards. Evan Ingram, 2 receptions, 66 yards. OBJ tied the Hall of Famer for the 4th most receiving touchdowns in Giants franchise history with 43. So everybody's breaking records. They definitely got some stars over there if they could just figure out how to plug up and connect. Defensively speaking for the Giants, Landon Collins led in tackles with 11 tackles. Ogletree had a pick 6 and 9 tackles. B.W. Webb had 7 tackles and an interception, 2 pass deflections. Michael Thomas with an interception in lockdown coverage. He allowed -4 yards in coverage when targeted. Usually he's on special teams, so this is a huge thing for him, and I like to see him at that position. Curtis Riley had an interception return for 46 yards. Kareem Martin had first and only sack in the last 3 games. So everybody was stepping up. At the linebacker position, they definitely were still struggling in coverage in the run game. However, how about Janoris Jenkins? I think he deserves some sort of assist man of the year. He's like the Rondo of assist when it comes to assisting in the tip drill for his teammates to get interceptions, or they just straight up stole it from him in this case with Ogletree. But either way, he contributes and doesn't probably get spoken on as much as he should for sure. He definitely does his part in that department. As far as the Bucks go, as you can see, a very sloppy game per usual. Fitzpatrick finished 13 of 21, 167 yards, no touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. To which case they then put in Winston, who was 12 of 16, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he rushed for 16 yards. Peyton Barber, 18 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown. Kudos to him for stepping up at that position. Mike Evans, good per usual, 6 receptions, 120 yards, and a touchdown. O.J. Howard, great performance, 5 receptions, 78 yards. Humphreys, 3 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Godwin, 3 receptions, 50 yards. Jackson, 4 receptions, 38 yards. So they spread the ball around, and the problem is they just create way too many turnovers, way too many giveaways with the interceptions. Defensively, Isaiah Johnson led in tackles, 10 tackles. Pierre Paul had 7 tackles and 2 sacks on his old quarterback, which I'm sure he enjoyed and made fun of, made light of it. Adarius Taylor with a fumble recovery and 6 tackles. Horrible run defense, though, obviously, as you can see. And definitely they were short 2 linebackers, so you can feel it in that department. They didn't have to make any plays at the second level either. The Bucks are on pace to be the 4th team since 1970 to lead the NFL in total offense and giveaways in the same season. So that firepower offense we thought we had in Tampa in the beginning of the year when Fitzpatrick was actually Fitzmagic has fizzled, but they still put up buku yards every week. But they lead in giveaways, and that's really just what boils down to all of their games. You can put up all this. Mike Evans can have 1 million yards a game every game. Fitzpatrick can put up 400 yards per throwing a game, and you still are not going to win a game if you can't take care of the ball and you can't make sound decisions. So they're definitely struggling with that in Tampa Bay. Next game, Ravens versus Bengals. Lamar Jackson's first career start was very interesting as he was very run hungry and took the ball into his own hands literally in the game into his own hands. Lamar Jackson had the second most rushing yards, 117 by a rookie quarterback since 1970. He finished 13 of 19, 150 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 fumble. But like I said, he rushed for 27 times for 117 yards. So very impressive rushing performance from him on the ground and being mobile. They definitely didn't know how to stop it, that's for sure. And it's almost interesting because we all know that's what he's going to do, and they still couldn't prepare for it. So that's kudos to him as far as they know you're going to be a running quarterback. They had time to prepare. They knew you were starting, and they still couldn't stop you. So he's just that good on the ground. As well as the ground, let's talk about Gus Edwards. 17 carries, 115 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. He's an undrafted free agent rookie, okay? So I love seeing stuff like this. Definitely a huge step up for him, and I hope he gets the attention he deserves because he was running really nicely. Willie Snead finished with 5 receptions, 51 yards. Like I said, Lamar's 117 with Edwards 115 became the first rookie quarterback running back duo with 100-plus yards in the same game since the 1970 merger. So that's pretty interesting there. The Ravens attempted 0 passes on their first scoring drive. The opening drive was 11 plays, 75 yards. Not once did they throw. Only other team to do that was the Raiders in 2003. Defensively, the secondary did great in coverage. As far as the Bengals go, I mean, really, they just could not establish a run game, and I think that had a lot of, that plagued them. Dalton finished 19 of 36, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did rush for 29 yards as well. There was just literally no run game at all. But Gio Bernard did do great in pass blocking, though. Boyd finished with 4 receptions, 71 yards. John Ross, 2 receptions, 27 yards, and a touchdown. A very nice Randy Moss-type touchdown. Defensively, the Bengals allowed their most rushing yards in a game, 265, since 2001. The defensive coordinator, Terrell Austin, was fired Monday. Defense allowed 500 yards in 3 straight games. That's an NFL record. So, bye-bye, very much warranted. Out of control. That's basically what lost them this game. Fun fact, Lamar Jackson had more rushing yards in college, 4,132, than 17 of the 18 running backs drafted in the first round since 2009. Let me repeat that. Lamar Jackson had more rushing yards in college, 4,132, which is more than 17 of 18 running backs drafted in the first round since 2009. Saquon, all these greats you can think of. The only exception is Melvin Gordon. Next game, Steelers versus Jaguars. This game is all about, it's not how you start, it's definitely how you finish. Largest blown lead, 16 points by the Jaguars since 2011. They have now lost 6 games in a row. Bortles was 10 of 18, 104 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He rushed for 17 yards, 2 fumbles, 1 lost. Fournette was 28 carries, 95 yards on the ground with a touchdown as well, and he also had 2 receptions, 46 yards. He led in both categories, but there was just an inability to move the ball on offense otherwise. In the air, because the Steelers eventually shut down the run game, which basically controlled the game because we all know Bortles can't do much in the air. So once they caught on to realizing that Fournette was their only option, they shut it down, and it shut the game down basically. Their next best was Carlos Hyde with 8 carries of 44 yards, and Dede Westbrook had 2 receptions, 19 yards. Like, there was no offense outside of Fournette, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. And once they shut that down, it was over. So, great adjustments on the Steelers' part and great comeback. Defensively speaking, for the Jaguars, Jalen Ramsey must have heard me talking last week because he definitely stepped his game up this week. I think I'm not the only one who's been talking crap about him this year. So he definitely stepped his game up and silenced the critics. He finished with 2 interceptions. He led in tackles, 8, and had 3 passes defended. Church also had an interception. DJ Hayden, AJ Bowie with 7 tackles and 5 tackles, passes defended, great coverage. And secondary for sure, Calais Campbell and Ngoku each had a sack. Great run defense as well. Even though the run is all that they could do, it was still contained as much as it could have been worse for sure. Jalen Ramsey was targeted 8 times when covering Antonio Brown, allowing as many as 3 receptions as his team had interceptions. So think about that for a second. He allowed 3 receptions, and his team had 3 interceptions on those targets, only allowing 32 yards. So huge performance from Jalen Ramsey. Welcome back. Hope you're here to stay. It may not affect the season. Sorry. Big Ben on the day, 27 of 47, 314 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Big Ben has earned his 31st fourth quarter comeback and 41st game-winning drive, both third most among active quarterbacks right now. 1 week after Big Ben had a perfect quarterback rating, he came back and overcame 3 interceptions this game and a 16-0 deficit by leading a touchdown drive on the Steelers' last 2 possessions, and Pittsburgh escaped its 6th straight victory. Very impressive performance, showing resilience there, for sure. They didn't have much of a run game. They definitely did a great job of stopping that. As far as the Jaguars are concerned, Connor was held to 25 yards on the ground and only 24 receiving. We haven't probably seen that all year. He's definitely productive either way. Antonio Brown, though, 5 receptions, 117 yards and a touchdown. Juju with 8 receptions, 104 yards. Antonio Brown has 1+ receiving touchdown in 8 consecutive games. Funny because he had a slow start, but he is on it now, tied for the longest streak in a single season in Steelers history. Defensively, TJ Watt with 2 forced fumbles and strip sacks, 6 tackles. Hayward with the recovery of 1 of those fumbles, 5 tackles and a sack. Vince Williams led in tackles with 10 and a sack. Hargrave 2 sacks, 6 sacks total on Bortles. So great defensive in the pass rush for sure. Watt now has 17 career sacks, the most by a Steelers player in his first 2 seasons. So great performance there. Like I said, this was a game of resilience, and we all know who's going to come out on top. Being that it's the Jaguars and the Steelers, we're definitely talking about the Steelers. But next game, Texans versus Redskins. The Texans have tied a franchise record with their 7th consecutive win, the first team since 1925 to start 0-3 and then win 7 in a row. Very impressive performance. Deshaun Watson was 16 of 24, 208 yards, 1 touchdown. He did throw 2 interceptions and was sacked 3 times. He struggled slightly this game for sure. It wasn't really him that completely got this game for them. Miller was 20 carries, 86 yards on the ground, and 3 receptions, 22 yards. And Blue was 8 carries on the ground, 46 yards. Kuti was 5 receptions, 77 yards. Hopkins was next best with 5 receptions, 56 yards and a touchdown. He did lose a fumble as well. Watson just couldn't get him the ball. Honestly, Norman had great coverage on him. Holding penalties extended some Houston drives though. So though Norman had good coverage on Hopkins, there was also some holding penalties that extended a lot of those Houston drives that definitely made a difference in this game and them coming out with the win. Defensively, Kareem Jackson led the team in tackles and had a sack. Matthew, 9 tackles and a sack. Clowney, Watt, and Marcellus each with a sack. Justin Reed with a pick 6, 101 yards. If you have not seen that, you got to stick around and check the highlight. This young rookie is doing brilliant things. Definitely entertaining to watch. Scarlett with another interception as well. As far as the Redskins go, Alex Smith, bless his heart, prayers up to him. Before going out with his gruesome injury, he was 12 of 27, 135 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, and 33 rushing yards. McCoy came in he was 6 of 12, 54 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 2 sacks, and 35 rushing yards. So definitely a huge factor to go forward, with this bracket. They have the Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, this whole bracket. It's like they're all racing to the top. But now with Alex Smith going out, it's gonna be interesting to see how that pans out with McCoy stepping up. I don't know if they're gonna go get another quarterback, but unfortunately, unless Adrian Peterson can just, which we do know he's a huge factor in them winning games, and they do still have a great defense, it's maybe possible, but it's going to be interesting to see how they plug up a quarterback and how it fits going forward for the rest of the season. AP on the ground, 16 carries, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns. His 26th career game with 2+ rushing touchdowns, the 4th most since 1950. So AP, the OG, still going strong, still setting records. Jay Reed finished 7 receptions, 71 yards, and a touchdown. On defense, Mason Foster had a fumble recovery and 10 tackles. Clinton Dix led the team with 13 tackles. Kerrigan had 2 sacks. Basically, what it boiled down to this game is they missed the last-second field goal to win the game. It was a very close game, equally yoked. If Alex Smith didn't go out, who knows what would have happened, honestly. Next game, but no discredit to Houston. I like this team, and they're going to do big things. Keep watching. Lions versus Panthers. Stafford, 23 of 37, 220 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. No mistakes were very key for him in this game. When Stafford doesn't make mistakes, they tend to typically win. Kerryon Johnson, 15 carries, 87 yards, 1 touchdown, and it was definitely very great in the pass protection as well. Galladay with 8 receptions, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Bruce Ellington with 6 receptions, 52 yards, and very shifty. Defensively, Tracy Walker had an interception, 6 pass deflections in coverage. Ricky Jean-Francois was good in run defense. Darius Slay was a very busy man in the secondary with huge breakups. As far as the Panthers go, Cam Newton finished 25 of 37, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception. Very slow start and a nice attempted late comeback for sure. He's shot some stuff down the field, but honestly it was just a little bit too much too late. McCaffrey on the ground, 13 carries, 53 yards, and 6 receptions, 57 yards, and 110 total yards on the day for him. DJ Moore, what a performance for this rookie. 7 receptions, 157 yards, a touchdown, and amazing grabs all over the place, left and right. Huge performance. He definitely made the highlights. Stick around to see that. Shout out to him. I know he's kind of had a rough patch some of these games this season, so I like to see that happen. Maybe that'll boost his confidence and get him going. Curtis Samuel, 5 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively speaking, the pass rush was very, very, very quiet, and the secondary just didn't make much noise either. So at the end of the day, you know, the Lions just came out on top. There's really all there is to say about that. It's unfortunate that in such a great career game for DJ Moore, they couldn't come out with the win, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Next game, Colts versus Titans. Luck would know a little bit about that because he'll throw 1,000,000 yards and still lose. But not today. Colts versus Titans, 3+ passing touchdowns for Luck in 7 straight games. He is on a streak, 3rd longest streak. It's tied for Dan Marino. Luck finished the game 23 of 29, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, completed 80% of his passes. This is a season high for him. Andrew Luck became the 3rd player in NFL history with 160+ passing touchdowns in his first 80 games. He joins Hall of Fame Dan Marino and Aaron Rodgers. So we cannot discredit Andrew Luck, even if, you know, the Colts have been shaky. He is definitely an offensive powerhouse and has a huge arm on him for sure. Andrew Luck is now 10-0 in his career against the Titans, his most wins versus any opponent since 1970. Only John Elway, 10-0 versus the Patriots, has as many wins without a loss versus a single opponent. So very impressive dominance there by Luck. Luck was not sacked for the 5th consecutive game, so shout out to the O-line, breaking a tie for the 5th longest streak in the league since sacks became an official stat in 1982. Very impressive. O-line definitely gets credit there. Luck has not been sacked in 214 consecutive dropbacks. That's huge. Credits to the O-line for sure. They kept Luck very clean in the pocket, didn't allow a sack for the 5th straight game. Mack on the ground, 16 carries, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Wilkins, 4 carries, 30 yards, and a touchdown as well. T.Y. Hilton with an amazing game, 9 receptions, 155 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Hilton has 9 career receiving touchdowns of 60+ yards. Only Hall of Famer Lenny Moore has more in such category with 13. Defensively, Darius Leonard, the rookie, another one that's just shining like crazy this year. Forced fumble, interception, 7 tackles, a sack. I mean, this guy is like unreal. I mean, he came ready. Rookie, in and out. He leads the league in tackles, I think, this year. I mean, he's something to watch. If you're not watching Colts games because you're not interested, he's worth tuning into because he is just all over the place and very impressive performance as the rookie. As far as the rest of the defense, Kenny Moore led the team in tackles with 10, had a sack as well. Jabal Sheard had 2 sacks. There was 5 total sacks this game for the defense. The Colts defense has 19 takeaways this season. They had 20 takeaways all of 2017. So this defense is definitely stepping up in a major way and is making a difference, and I think is what is making a difference in wins. I mean, Luck is definitely huge, but his defense backing him makes a huge difference as well. Mariota on the game, 10 of 13, 85 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Gabbert comes in, 11 of 16, 118 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. No wide receiver or running back was over 50 yards in this game. The O-line definitely struggled as well. Coming off pressuring Brady, the front seven struggled to give any kind of luck on any kind of pressure on Luck. Adoree Jackson was attacked in coverage on Hilton all day. Very poor defensive performance by the Titans. Coming off of a win at the Patriots, I'm definitely disappointed in that. I was not foreseeing that. I thought they were onto something, but hey, everybody has a bad day, I guess. The Titans are the 8th team to defeat both previous Super Bowl participants within the same season since 2010. 2 of those 8 teams made it to the Super Bowl. Congrats to Reggie Wayne on the induction to the Hall of Fame. He's definitely much deserved. He was my personal favorite player back when I was a Colts fan in the Peyton Manning era, because, you know, I'm a New Orleans girl, so I support people from Louisiana or that went to LSU or anything like it. So I was a huge Peyton Manning fan. In fact, when they played the Saints in the Super Bowl, I was like, what do I do? It was really awkward because I didn't know who to cheer for, because I was an avid Colts fan for sure as well. Still a Saints fan, of course, number 1. But that whole group, they had Peyton Manning, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison, Joseph Addai, Edgerrin James, all kind of people. Their defense, Mathis, everybody. It was just a fun squad to watch. But anyways, going forward, Cowboys versus Falcons. They won with a game-winning field goal. A lot of games this week, that was like the theme, were decided by game-winning field goals in like the last second. The Cowboys win 2 straight games for the first time this season. Might be onto something here. Dak finished 22 of 32, 208 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and he did have a rushing touchdown. Zeke finished with 23 carries, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, 7 receptions, 79 yards, receiving 201 total yards on the day. Listen to this, guys. 114 of his 123 rushing yards were yards after contact. This guy's a beast. He's a yak monster. Hard to take down for sure. Ezekiel Elliott has eclipsed 100+ scrimmage yards 24 times in his career since 2016, including today. That is the most in the NFL over that span, and tied for the 3rd most in a player's first 35 career games since 1950. Huge. He is on to something, I'm telling you. Like, I don't know why the Cowboys even went away from not feeding Zeke in the beginning of the season. That's really the difference in the games going forward. That's why they're seeing the success that they're seeing. Defensively, Vander Esch, another amazing rookie on defense, with an interception, 28-yard return, 3 pass deflections, 8 tackles. Woods had 9 tackles. Awuzie and Jones, 7 tackles each, tackles for loss, and pass deflections. Lawrence with 2 sacks. Pretty good performance. Their defense is always pretty solid. As far as the Falcons are concerned, Matt Ryan finished 24 of 34, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Coleman would finish with 8 carries, 58 yards. Julio Jones with 6 receptions, 118 yards and a touchdown. Sanu with 4 receptions, 56 yards. Julio Jones now has 100+ receiving yards in 5 straight games, longest active streak in the NFL right now. Also, he saved Matt Ryan from an interception with a huge deflection to get it out of the hands of the defender. As far as defense goes, they could not stop the run or do much to create turnovers. The secondary somewhat contained the wide receivers a little bit, considering, but just piss poor, honestly. The Cowboys have beat the Falcons in Atlanta for the first time since 2006, so kudos to them on that. It was the Cowboys' longest road winless streak versus any NFC opponent. Since 2011, Matt Ryan is 1-12 against top 3 scoring defenses in Week 4 or later. The Cowboys had the number 3 scoring defense entering the game. So that's the difference to me when people talk about GOAT talk. Matt Ryan in the conversation and Drew Brees is in the conversation. That's the difference to me between a Drew Brees and a Matt Ryan. Drew Brees has a stat like the opposite, like 10-2 against top 3 scoring. Top 5, I think it was. I had it in my last post. Top 5 scoring defenses, he's like 10-2. Matt Ryan is 1-12. That's horrible. So you as a quarterback have to know how to still be successful against a top scoring defense. So that's going to be key for him going forward. Next game, Raiders versus Cardinals. Daniel Carson hit the game-winning 35-yard field goal. Like I said, a lot of these games came down to a game-winning field goal. Derek Carr, 19 of 31, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Cook and LaFell with a touchdown each, but roughly 30 yards apiece. Very vanilla performance on offense. No offensive player was over 65 yards. Defensively, Carl Joseph had an interception, 5 tackles, Conley with an interception as well. The Raiders led entering the fourth quarter for the 4th time this season and won for the first time. Congratulations on that. Entering Sunday, they were the only team in the NFL who had not won a game when leading through 3 quarters. That's really sad. They're big for blowing leads. As far as the Cardinals go, Rosen was 9 of 20, 136 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. David Johnson was 25 carries, 137 yards on the ground, 1 reception for 17 yards, 154 total yards for him on the game. Honestly, Arizona went very run-heavy on offense with 32 rushes compared to 22 passing plays. David Johnson carried the bulk of the load with 25 runs for 137 yards, both season highs, along with his longest run of 53 yards. He did so behind an average night from the offensive line and other blockers. So much credit to him because he created his own holes because they definitely weren't creating them for him. But he can't do it all by himself, right? Larry Fitzgerald only had 2 receptions for 23 yards, but he did have 2 touchdowns. Defensively, Antoine Bethea had 8 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. Bynes with 8 tackles, tackle for a loss. Chandler Jones with 2 sacks. Now has 37.5 sacks since joining the Cardinals in 2016. Chandler Jones is something special for sure. And also, despite giving up just his 2nd touchdown on the season, Patrick Peterson, LSU, was locked down the rest of the game, allowing just 3 catches for 20 yards and collecting a pass breakup. Peterson once again is grading out as a top 10 cornerback and should receive offseason accolades, aka Pro Bowl, aka whatever, because he is just that guy. Next game, Broncos versus Chargers. Again, a last-second field goal win. The Chargers lost 12 of their last 15 games versus Denver, including playoffs. The Broncos won their first game in November since 2016, so shout out to them. Winless November is over. Keenum, 19 of 32, 205 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Lindsey, the rookie, 11 carries, 79 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns and 4 receptions, 27 yards, 106 total yards for him on the day. Cortland Sutton, another rookie, stepped up, 3 receptions, 78 yards, and a clutch catches for sure. Sanders, 4 receptions, 56 yards. Defensively, Von Miller with the interception returned for 42 yards, a sack. Stewart, 10 tackles, pass deflection. Chris Harris with an interception, 8 tackles. Chubb with 7 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for a loss. Their defense is always solid. Von Miller now has 7 10-plus sack seasons. Only Hall of Famer Reggie White has more. It was Miller's first interception in a regular season game since 2012. He is also the 5th fastest player to reach 100 career sacks among players who began their careers in 1982 or later. So we tend to forget to talk about Von Miller with all this Khalil Mack talk going on, but let's not forget he is a freak as well. Rivers on the day, 28, 43, 401 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He now has 2+ passing touchdowns in 11 straight games, the longest active streak in the NFL. Gordon on the ground, 18 carries, 69 rushes, 6 receptions, 87 yards, 158 total yards for the day. He's marking the 6th straight game he has 130 yards or more. Keenan Allen finished the day with 9 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Antonio Gates, the OG, 5 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Mike Williams, 2 receptions, 56 yards, very nice receptions. Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates have connected on 89 touchdowns. Since 1930, the only quarterback pass-catcher duo with more than that in that span is Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison with 112. Defensively, Jatavis Brown, 8 tackles and a pass deflection. Derwin James, 7 tackles. But interestingly enough, this game there was no sacks. Penalties basically ailed the Chargers. There was 14 penalties on the game. Secondary played okay until the end of the game. They started to give up some pretty big plays. So, like I said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Oakland finally finished a game. Oakland. Denver finally finished a game. So they deserve it. And next game, Saints versus Eagles. Man, my Saints are just blowing through everybody. It's like almost not entertaining. I feel like a Bama fan right now. Like it's like, can I have a game, please? No, I'm joking. I'm enjoying every second of it, and I like it this way. Saints versus Eagles. This is the worst loss by a reigning Super Bowl champion. Saints have a 9-game winning streak going now. It's the longest active streak in the NFL. Drew Brees finished 22 of 30, 363 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 0 sacks. Twice this season, Brees has thrown for 4 touchdowns in a game without an interception, giving him an NFL record of 23 such performances in his career. His latest put him one ahead of New England's Tom Brady. So who's the GOAT? No, I'm just joking. Anyways, on the ground, Mark Ingram, 16 carries, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, 13 carries, 71 yards, and 1 reception, 37 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Since 2017, the Saints are 18-1 when Alvin and Kamara and Mark Ingram combined for 25-plus touches. So that's the key. Tre'Quan Smith, the rookie, what a game. Gosh, some of these rookies are having some amazing performances. 10 receptions, 157 yards, and a touchdown. Some great catches by him. Michael Thomas finished with 4 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Thomas is the first wide receiver in Saints history to surpass 1,000 yards receiving in each of his first 3 seasons. The Saints led the Eagles 24-7 at halftime. In the Drew Brees era since 2006, New Orleans is 51-2 when leading by double digits at half, the second best record in the NFL. The Saints are the first team in the Super Bowl era to score 40-plus points 6 times in their first 10 games of the season. The Saints now have outscored their past 2 opponents 99-21 combined. Defensively, Chris Banjo with 2 interceptions, Marshawn Lattimore with an interception and tackles. I mean, just an amazing performance all around. Our defense is stepping up, which is huge because that's what we need going into the postseason. Our offense has been clicking, will continue to click, God willing. Saints be with us. Saints to the Super Bowl. Anyways, as far as the Eagles, there's really just not much to talk about. Carson Wentz was 19-33, 157 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You can't expect to win a game. He struggled hugely in this game. Josh Adams, he's an undrafted rookie. He scored his first career touchdown, 7 carries, 53 yards. Golden Tate, 5 receptions, 48 yards. Defensively, Graham and Jenkins tried their best with 9 tackles each, but just couldn't get the job done. Sorry. I'm so proud of my Saints. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I have great intuition. They're definitely going to be in the Super Bowl, so just get ready. And if we have to play the Rams twice, we will win twice. People say you can't beat a team twice in a season. Watch. So, next game, Bears versus Vikings. Trubisky finished 20 of 31, 165 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He rushed for 43 yards. He had very long, methodical drives. Great performance. As far as on the ground, Howard, 18 carries, 63 yards. Taylor Gabriel, 7 receptions, 52 yards. He had 4 of 7 on first down, so that's impressive. Defensively, they dominated. The Bears just dominated. That's just what they do. The Bears' defense is something to reckon with, okay? Akeem Hicks was perhaps the most impressive performer for the Bears' defense. He was unblockable in the run game and recorded 5 tackles for a loss. Hicks also produced rushing the passer and recorded 2 quarterback hits and a sack. Just an impressive performance. Of course, McAttack with a forced fumble and a sack. Amos with the interception. Eddie Jackson with a pick 6. Prince Amukamara led the team in tackles with 8 and great in coverage. Roquan Smith, the rookie, with 7 tackles. Hicks, 5 tackles for a loss. Fuller, 7 tackles, 2 pass deflections. This Bears defense is insane, guys. Definitely a team to look out for in the postseason. Bears safety Eddie Jackson leads the NFL with 4 defensive touchdowns since entering the NFL in 2017. No other player has more than 2 defensive touchdowns in that span. Khalil Mack now has his 5th forced fumble of the season, the most in the NFL. Like I said, if this offense continues to manage to be able to game manage and finish a game, this defense is sick. So people are sleeping on the Bears. It's time to wake up. The Grizzly Bear is here. As far as the Vikings go, Cousins was 30 of 46, 262 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, no protection at all from the O-line, no run game at all, only 22 rushing yards total. Cook lost a fumble as well, so that was huge. Stephon Diggs did finish the game 13 receptions, 126 yards, and a touchdown. Thielen, 7 receptions, 66 yards. Defensively, Johnson forced a fumble. Harrison Smith held the fumble recovery and had 8 tackles. Kendricks, 12 tackles. Anthony Harris, 2 interceptions. Great game for him, and he was great in coverage. But, like I said, it's hard to stop. This defense is going to stop your offense, and if their offense can do just enough to get it done, it's over. But let's talk more about this crazy game on Monday Night Football. I mean, this was the Super Bowl for a lot of people. This was so entertaining. Rams versus Chiefs. First game in NFL history where both teams scored 50-plus points. Fourth game since 1970 to feature two teams who are each 9-1 or better entering the game at this point in the season. This is the first time since 1970 as well that the NFL's leader in passing yards and passing touchdowns, Mahomes, is facing off against the leader in scrimmage yards and scrimmage touchdowns, Gurley. So very interesting dynamics going on here. 14 combined touchdowns on the game for the night, 3 defensively. The Bills have scored 13 touchdowns this season, guys. They combined for 14 in one game. Just a little perspective. Patrick Mahomes finished 33 of 46, 478 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, rushed for 28 yards. He did lose 2 fumbles, and he was sacked 5 times. Patrick Mahomes has 6 games with 4-plus passing touchdowns, second most in a season since 1950. The Chiefs' first points came on a 4-play, 75-yard drive. Casey scored in just 2 minutes and 10 seconds, the fastest touchdown drive of 75 yards plus in this season. Hunt finished on the ground, 14 carries, 70 yards, 3 receptions, 41 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Tyreek Hill, what a performance. I mean, nobody was touching him. The Cheeto was off in a league of his own, 10 receptions, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Unbelievable. With his 73-yard touchdown reception in the fourth quarter, Tyreek Hill became the 3rd player in the NFL history with 15 touchdowns of 50-plus yards before turning 25 years old. So, like I said, this young guy is very impressive and cannot be guarded or stopped. Nobody can keep up with him. Travis Kelce finished with 10 receptions, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Conley with another impressive performance, 7 receptions, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, their defense is stepping up as well. Like, just because this was a high-scoring game, don't get it twisted. Both of these defenses did their job. Houston, great performance. D Ford, great performance. Hitchens, all of them had forced fumbles. Ron Parker led the team in tackles with 8 and great in coverage. Chris Jones, 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection. Great run defense. They kept Gurley in check for sure. And Skandrick was definitely picked on in the secondary, and that's kind of an ongoing theme. But hopefully, they can buff that up a little bit going into the postseason. As far as the Rams are concerned, Goff finished 31 of 49, 413 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He did lose 2 fumbles, though. Gurley finished on the ground with 12 carries, 55 yards, 3 receptions, 39 yards. He only had 94 total yards on the game, so that's a huge thing for him. That actually ended his 13-game touchdown streak this season. So, containing Gurley was huge. You would think Casey could come out with the win with just doing that, because that is kind of a key thing. But they made a lot of mistakes, turned the ball over, too many takeaways. Cooks had 8 receptions, 107 yards. Reynolds, 6 receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown. Woods, 4 receptions, 72 yards and a touchdown. Higbee, 6 receptions, 63 yards. Everett, 3 receptions, 49 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So nice performances by Everett and Reynolds, the young guys stepping up into their shoes and delivering in a big game. Defensively for the Rams, Donald with 2 forced fumbles at very critical points in the game. He now has 8 games with 2+ sacks since 2016, most in the NFL career over that time span. Joyner, Peters, and Ubuckham with an interception each. Peters trying to hush the critics as well, because he's been tried a lot lately and has been exposed a lot lately. So he had a great game and a game-ending pick, really. Ubuckham had a pick 6, huge, definitely, as well as a fumble recovery for a touchdown. He's I think one of the only players. He had an interception return for a touchdown and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. He joins Chicago safety Eddie Jackson in 2017. He was the only other player to have both an interception return for a touchdown and a fumble recovery touchdown in the same game in the last 10 seasons. Very impressive performance by Samson Ubuckham. As far as everybody else, Johnson led the team in tackles, 11 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Littleton, 8 tackles. Joyner, 7 tackles. At 10-1, the Rams have posted their best record through 11 games since 1969, when the original LA Rams went to 11-0 to start that season. So kudos to them on finishing this game. What a very entertaining game to watch. It could have gone either way. I think at the end of the day, it boils down to the fact that Mahomes had 5 giveaways and Goff only had 2. Difference in the game for sure. Goff silenced, but young contributors in Everett and Reynolds stepped up big to help out. Less turnovers and less penalties will always win games. So that wraps up our games for Week 11. Let's get into the best individual performances of Week 11. At quarterback, I have Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Eli Manning, Lamar Jackson. At receiver, I have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, DJ Moore, Traquan Smith, T.Y. Hilton, Devontae Adams, A.B. and Juju, Julio Jones, Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks, Mike Evans, Kenny Galladay. At running back, I have Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, Melvin Gordon, Aaron Jones, Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, and Alvin Kamara. Fournette, David Johnson, and Phillip Lindsay. Defensive back speaking, Justin Reed, Kareem Jackson, and Matthew, Chris Banjo and Marshawn Lattimore, Eddie Jackson and Prince Amukamara, Traymon Williams, Collins, Thomas, Jenkins, and Webb for the Giants, Jalen Ramsey this week, Patrick Peterson, Anthony Harris, and Chris Harris. At D tackle, DN, Aaron Donald, Hayward, Chris Jones and Bailey, J.J. Watt and Clowney, Chandler Jones, Cameron Jordan and Rankins, Akeem Hicks. At linebacker, I have Vander Esch, Darius Leonard, Von Miller and Chubb, T.J. Watt, Vince Williams, Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, Justin Houston and D. Ford, Obukum, Alec Ogletree, Bobby Wagner, and Kyler Fackrell. Special teams, we have the Denver fake punt with punter Colby Waldman throwing a 12-yard pass to fullback Andy Janovich for a first down, as well as all the kickers with the game-winning field goals this week. There were several games where it came down to that. Best offensively as a whole, Colts, Saints, Rams, and Chiefs. Best defensively, Texans, Rams, Chiefs, Saints, Chicago, surprisingly the Giants, and the Steelers. Best rookie performances, DJ Moore, Traquan Smith, Rashad Penny, Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, Justin Reed, Darius Leonard, Vander Esch, Phillip Lindsay, Cortland Sutton, Josh Adams, Roquan Smith, Anthony Miller. There's lots of guys stepping up each week as rookies. We have a good group of rookies this year that are contributing out the gate. So that's where we finish up with best individual performances. Let's get into the highlights of Week 11.
Rashad Penny gets around Clay Matthews. What an effort. What a run. Penny off his biggest day in the NFL and is down inside the Green Bay 40. A 30-yard run by the rookie. You just don't see this much in the NFL when a guy is able to traverse the field. You see it in Pop Warner all the time, but you watch this, and when he comes back around and is able to go against the grain and find a lane and pick up that kind of yardage. He had a big breakout game on Sunday. He has 4.4 speed, and with Chris Carson. Blitz. Packers pick it up. Down the field it goes for Adams. Devontae Adams inside the 20. Unbelievable.
Jenkins reading the route. I mean, he ran it before Deshaun Jackson ran it. Alec Ogletree running to the football, and that ball does not hit the ground. And the awareness to pick up, get up off the ground, and go score points. And a guy that's struggled in coverage to make a hustle play like this, always running to the ball, it's a nice reward for number 52, Alec Ogletree. Yes, he's going to run that post, going to high-low him right here. Eli is throwing. His target's not Odell Beckham Jr., it's the back pylon, and you see the strong hands as he holds on to the ball when Isaiah Johnson's trying to rip it out.
139 of it. And Barkley shakes a couple of tackles and inside the 10. He is dropped right there. Barkley is into the end zone. Is it a fumble? No, it's a touchdown. Signal has been given by a pair of officials. It's a touchdown for Saquon Barkley.
Touching. Look at that ability to leap. JPP tries to get there. You see him brace himself.
And throwing just in front of the Buccaneers bench. And Barkley tripped up inside the 40. I think a lot of people don't remember what an incredible player Chris Carter was. And for Barkley, he's just eclipsed the 100-yard rushing mark for the third time in this his rookie year.
We're 118. That's it.
Barkley nearly tripped up, breaks a tackle from Nassib, and he lowers his shoulder and gets inside. They say he stepped out of bounds. It looks like at a 13-yard line.
That's what you love from rookies. Look at this. Watch him turn. Now watch him not go out of bounds here. This is little things. It's hidden yards. He's responding today. How about this? 16 to 17 for 228.
Barkley to the 5-yard line. Nearly broke through the tackle of Nassib. Barkley will find the end zone. A touchdown.
There's no north-south. That's about 4-4 or white 4-3s running straight ahead. The offensive line, we talk about playing with confidence, playing tough.
To the side they go. Ross got it. Jousting. Touchdown! John Ross took it away. Coverage on the play by Humphrey. 22-yard touchdown pass. Andy Dalton. And Cincinnati builds on this.
So much of this. And you get all the focus, and now they just come back with this. And you're trying to protect the edge. You see how disciplined they are, the end man on the line of scrimmage, and now all of a sudden you bust one up inside with Gus Edwards. All your focus and all your attention.
He likes the way they're staying physical and executing.
It's Edwards on 1st and 10. They love the way he makes the cut and then drives.
Watch this block here, and then you come up on the second level, and that opens up a big crease for Gus Edwards. But I love the fact that Lewis is able to come off. Certainly helps the young quarterback as well.
They're down in 2, and it's Edwards trying to pile drive and then accelerates.
Somehow he came out of the pile. Look, he just sticks it up in there, keeps those legs churning, and it's a good-looking finish by Edwards. Trust me, he's athletic, but he's no Lamar Jackson.
Edwards. Oh, we got a block from Brown, and Brown again. Edwards for 2. He got it. We're tied. Point try by Edwards. Finishes it off well. First 2 scores in the NFL for the rookie free agent from Rutgers.
So they call their more 1 or 2 word play calls.
Gus Edwards is over 100 yards and into the second.
Roethlisberger, McDonald's going to go up, and he has to float it over Telvin Smith and keep it in bounds. Oh, look at this, the spot with the safety Gibson underneath.
Good tailback. Fournette flies up high. Did he break the plane? What an effort. Still no signal. I thought he was across. I think he's in. That's got to be a touchdown.
Most everybody thinks so, but the 2 side judges.
Look at it.
Where's the ball? Right there.
Ooh, you can't see it, though.
You might see it from here.
Look at that leap. Oh, now there he is. Definitely in.
That'll be a touchdown. He's on the sideline, and Campbell.
Intercepted. That was Ramsey.
You could think that was a possibility as he undercuts the seam route. How is that?
It's right here is where.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, yes.
Pass downfield, and it is pulled down.
What a catch by Smith-Schuster. Got a ton of time. Don't clock this. You're already in field goal range. You call a play or see Ben, don't clock it.
To the end zone. Intercepted. Picked off by Justin Reed, the rookie, up the sideline, and he is going to go. ...101 yards.
Let's read as he releases. He comes up, he pushes up, but he stops, and he pivots back to the inside. Alex Smith throwing it to the back of Jordan Reed's helmet, a stop route, which is a set route that you try and do, because a lot of times you consider the tight ends going to the corner, but this time you say, you know what, we're going to run a corner stop. Here's Watson. Watson throwing, it is tipped, intercepted. Picked off by Mason Foster. Late into the progression and not think something bad's going to happen. I know he's getting hit as he threw it. Excellent response by the Redskins defense. There's 3 players around the ball, and as that tip happens, Foster is able to bring in the interception.
Deshaun Watson had not thrown an interception in the last 3 games.
27 for a first down.
And they do look like Bradbury had an opportunity for a pick. First down.
Well, this coverage doesn't get any better than this. This is an interception in James Bradbury's mind. Watch him come out of this break looking for the ball. He's got it, but Kenny Galladay, oh my goodness.
Stafford complete. Up the sideline. Starting field position of the day for the Lions. Blunt in the backfield in the absence of Johnson. Catch is made on the slant for a first down by Kenny Galladay to the Carolina 41. Play clock is at 3. Lions get the snap off in time. Stafford rolling to his right. Now throws. There's a flag as Galladay makes the catch. First the adjustment, and then the reception for Detroit. First down.
You're expecting this receiver to stop with the sticks. Galladay, well, I'm going to stop. No, I'm not. I'm going. It's a little stutter dink move, and then the adjustment after the play.
Third down and 10. Stafford sets. Now he throws. What a catch. Galladay. Touchdown.
But watch he flutter this ball into the end zone, and what a catch. You can't get better coverage than that. And Kenny Galladay.
Camden. All-time rushing yards by quarterbacks. Another completion. And this one is taken down inside the 5-yard line by Panthers. Must get to the 16-yard line. As Newton throws to the outside, and the catch is made by DJ Moore. Still going across midfield. Inside the 40, the 30. And finally tackled.
This is a spectacular catch and run by DJ Moore. Outside here, this is just a little sticks route. Go to the sticks, turn around, come back, catch the ball, goes up and stays on his feet, most importantly. And then just the terrible angles by the secondary of Detroit, trying to get him onto the ground. And, man, he's got this explosive ability. Really surprised anybody caught him, but great effort play here. Darius Slay coming back a long time. He's battled injuries this year and last year, but still a reliable target.
Three-time Pro Bowler. Just 3 games earlier this season. It's DJ Moore again. He breaks 3. Broke away from Mike Ford. First and goal from the 8. A minute 15 on the clock. Newton looking end zone. He throws. Corner of the end zone. Touchdown. DJ Moore.
Puts him on the ground. There's a matchup. Watch at the end of this route. DJ Moore come out of this break. Darius Slay plays it pretty good, and then that sudden movement towards the east get all off balance here. Reaching, grabbing, trying to get anything. Pass is great. Catch is even better. See if this ball comes loose late after this catch. That's a touchdown.
Next to the quarterback. Gabbert over the middle, intercepted. He threw it right to Darius Leonard. Leonard still on his feet with a flag down. And Leonard out of bounds. Certainly the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Another monster game, and look at this.
Well, you're getting crossing routes, and Leonard is standing there kind of spying the quarterback. He moves up close where he's almost underneath the throw. And you saw 19 sitting down right in the middle because it's zone coverage and a little bit of the face mask there.
Started together. Luck on the move and fires to the sideline. And did T.Y. Hilton hang on right in front of Mike Vrabel? He did. Just 3 plays.
T.Y. Hilton one-on-one. It's a tough assignment.
Second and 4. Luck in trouble, steps up, fires, caught at the 10-yard line.
They really love him as a pro, as a player in the locker room.
Luck, deep shot down the field. T.Y. Hilton. He's got him. Hilton on his feet. 5 and down. Touchdown. 68 yards.
When you have great time in the pocket, nobody's pressuring you like Andrew Luck has had for the last 5.5 weeks. You're going to have that vision down the field. So you're thinking deep. Is the deep route there? Nobody's in center field. I know I got my guy. Just let him run right under it.
Is now calling the plays. I certainly wish Dean Pease well as Andrew Luck. Somehow T.Y. Hilton caught that one. Luck doing so much at the line. Quick pass to the right side. Caught by Hilton, who nearly got away from the Dory Jackson. Will they go to Ebron here? Luck throws on a run, flag down. Hilton's got it. Did he stay in? No signal yet. But now they're saying he's down at the 3. There's also a flag that came out. No matter what, it's a first down.
Why Hilton is a small receiver, right? But he is so strong. I mean, look at that. He's still in bounds.
It certainly looked
if you
like
ask
that.
me, there's going to be a challenge.
Leads it to Hilton. Out of bounds. But another Indianapolis first down. When the Houston Oilers, Wright leading the Bills all the way back. James was on that team with Wright. Hilton on the sideline. Did he stay in? Yes, he did. T.Y. Hilton having it there. Throw an end zone, and it is held on to. Yes, touchdown, Tennessee. Tajae Sharpe with his second touchdown of the year.
You know, in baseball, you have a lot of unwritten rules. You don't have unwritten rules in football that say, get the ball in the 1, you're down by a bunch of points, you have to run the ball. You do whatever you want, you continue to play hard, and that's a great attempt by Tom.
Second down. Ryan going for it all. Looking for Julio Jones. Touchdown!
Right from pre-snap, Matt Ryan reads the man-to-man coverage, and who are you going to take your chances with? Awuzie made a nice play earlier in the ball game against Julio Jones.
11th play of the drive, and they will run it. Now a big hole, breaking tackles inside the 5. Take on that last play. Elliott doesn't care. He breaks 3 into the end zone. Touchdown.
We talk so often about this Dallas offensive line, and even with a substitution, look at everyone locked up on each other. Man on man, white shirt on black shirt, and DeMonte Casey can't make the tackle in the open.
Play action from Rosen. Throwing far side, it's caught. What a leaping grab by Kirk.
Christian Kirk saves the day, but this ball is way too late. That ball should be out now. And Worley, because the ball is thrown late, Worley undercuts it. And it almost should have been an interception or a broken up pass, but look at the athletic play.
Carr up top. And it is caught. What a play by LaFell.
Wow, what a great effort, a great grab by LaFell. And Carr leads him to the back shoulder up high. Leonard Johnson is in great shape.
Derek Carr's going to throw this one. Carr rolling out to the end zone. It's caught. Brandon LaFell for the Oakland touchdown. Carr knew exactly where he was going with the football. Combination between throw and catch. LaFell working against the great Patrick Peterson. And Peterson is in good shape. He just stumbles when he comes out of his break, but I don't think it would have mattered. That ball location. First NFL catch for the rookie Sherfield. This is Johnson out of the backfield. Johnson has some lead blockers in front of him from that one. Man, that's like me and you in the booth. It was Johnson first down run. He's so elusive once he gets into open space. Johnson again, gaping hole. Johnson still going. Plenty of open real estate. Finally forced out of bounds by Joseph.
So that's 11 straight games with at least 2 touchdowns. Intercepted, picked up by Von Miller. Miller trying to stay upright, and he's dropped down from behind by Travis Benjamin.
Of his career, and what an athletic play. Steps right in front of the quick screen to Benjamin, and Benjamin's speed is enough to grab him, trying to strip the ball away. But 42 yards after this catch. He is looking.
2nd and 20. Rivers bobbled, throws, and it's intercepted. The timing was off, and Chris Harris Jr. just made Rivers pay. First turnover of the day. Los Angeles gives it away on a Rivers pick by Harris. First down, Philip Lindsay back in. Lindsay waits, great patience. Lindsay He's got blazing speed, and he's gone. Touchdown, Broncos. Tasmanian Devil running free for 41.
Between the tackles and then to the speed as he outruns the secondary. Little draw play here, sets up his blocks, gets right in behind Billy Turner with a key block there, and now
Dumble. Gordon has room. Gordon still going. Churning up yards. Gordon won't go down. Finally gang tackled inside the Denver 40.
Similar type of play against the Raiders last week. That one he made a couple of moves, but this is all desire. 32 yards on this, and he's just, as you said, Ian, refusing to go down. Rips out of the tackle of Chris Harris.
On first down, Traquan Smith. And good enough to make the tackle after the completion is Rasul Douglas again of 6.
Period. And he spread the ball around to a lot of other people.
They're down in 2. Pass is bobbled and caught for the first down by Smith. Ease has been perfect completing passes on third down.
They've been able to keep the chains moving. Traquan Smith does a good job. I like what Sean Payton did there with Drew Brees. Obviously, of course, Alvin Kamara and that two-headed monster, that's only gotten better.
2nd and 7. Pass is caught. Smith
on average 30 times a game, which is the second most in the NFL.
Here's Brees. Pass is caught. Traquan Smith breaking tackles out to the 41. Run of 22 yards. And that brings this game to the 2-minute warning with the Saints up 10. Now 3rd down and 5. Big 3rd down. Pass caught. Traquan Smith. First down at the 15. Terrible injury for Alex Smith, the Redskins. Brees, end zone. Pass is caught. Touchdown. And a flag for the hit. Traquan Smith somehow hung on to the football.
They've done that for the most part, but everyone else is beating.
Brees steps into it, fires, pass is caught. Traquan Smith.
He had a chance. Camden Sullivan was in pretty good position there, but Traquan Smith works back.
They're coming off a tough home loss to Dallas. Here's a pass that is caught. Traquan Smith again.
And Traquan Smith is having a day. He came into this game with only 12 receptions, and that is what, his 8th of the game today, and over 100 yards receiving, and he's done some really nice.
They're down in 2. Why not go for a big shot? Smith! What a day! It's been 10 all day. .38 yards to end the third quarter. Back after this from your local Fox station. It is fun to watch unless you're wearing green.
Coming off of that injury from last year.
They start at the 15 and they hand to Josh Adams, who has taken over as the top running back. Pass is tipped and off the right hand of Golden Tate.
But they get the hold and reset it down.
Play action from Wentz, gonna air it out downfield. Aguilar underthrown and an interception by Lattimore. And that play had no chance. And this is a group celebration.
See the defense here, middle safety, he drops on Alshon Jeffrey, and that allows Marshawn Lattimore then to go play deep middle, and there was never a chance.
Ertz has yet to be targeted. Number 3 in the league in catches. Wentz sacked. And the play made by Sheldon Rankins.
Defensive lineman, you see the move that he's able to put on Wisniewski there in the middle, and he had a chance for the Cowboys to climb back into it with a win. And each team come out at 6-5.
Wentz is hit from behind. Okafor was there. Jordan was in there early. Saints. You got to
run the ball here and just run out the clock. They do with Wendell Smallwood. Wentz pulls it down, now floats it for the rookie, and Goddard cannot make the catch. Second down and 4. Pass is caught by Adams and well played up front.
This shows necessarily in the stats.
Here's a little toss to Golden Tate. That didn't work. Play made by Cam Jordan.
What a great job by Cam Jordan. This guy's a great pass rusher, as we know, but here's where the discipline comes. You see his eyes in the backfield. He doesn't go chasing the ball. He stays home. And it's not easy to do.
Second down and 10.
Well, I know our crew's looking forward to the Daytona 500. Always a big part of the year for them.
Wentz out to his right. Throws. Underthrown and picked. Intercepted by Chris Banjo.
21 guys running out. Well, they're just trying to make something happen and punch holes in a lot of things.
They host Washington after the Giant game. As Wentz is sacked.
500 isn't out of the question mostly.
Into the end zone and intercepted for the third time, second time by Chris Banjo. What a way for this game, in essence, to end for Carson Wentz. Second down and 15 over the middle. Pass is caught. Diving grab by Arnold, the tight end. And Arnold made a beautiful grab for a 23-yard catch. You see that he secured it.
It'll be a game and a half in front. This drive starts from deep in their own territory, and it's picked off at the 25-yard line. Eddie Jackson, and he'll go in for the touchdown. Ready to beat the band.
Keep your eye right here. Going to get that route coming at him. And Eddie Jackson, who's one of the really good young stars in the National Football League, saw it all the way. That was
3rd and 11. Ball is out. Ball is out. And Allen Bailey scores. Wow. The Chiefs take the lead. Can you believe this?
You know, Allen Bailey scored, but the guy who made it happen, coming around the corner, number 50, Justin Houston, going against the veteran Andrew Whitworth. He goes full to speed. He gets the arm outside. Ball comes out. Allen Bailey gets it. Whitworth is trying to set him hard, but Houston, a guy, he's been injured this year. He's been down, but he's still fighting. Coming around the corner against the veteran tackle, Whitworth. Speed to power. Nice.
And now Ebukam has 2. So they were going to the RPO, run pass option. The reason why they run it that way, they allow the right tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, to go out.
Taken down. Ball is loose. Picked up. Ebukam returns it for the score. Scoop and score. Rams.
And we say he's the best defensive player in the National Football League, and I'll say it again. He is the best defensive player, maybe the best player in the National Football League, number 99, Aaron Donald. His ability to get on the edge and get outside. Cam Irving, they know he's going outside, a little stutter. He stutters the offensive lineman to freeze him, and then he uses speed and athletic ability to get outside. And what do we say? The great ones don't just get the sack, they get the football out. And Mahomes feels it, but he goes right after the football. That's what the great ones do.
Give Wade Phillips credit. He played 2-man behind us. So he had zone, safeties up high, and played man underneath. He's got him for the touchdown.
Does he ever? Mahomes to Hill. What a response. 25-yard touchdown catch for Hill.
Hill again. If you dump it down to your back, get the first down. No thanks. I'll take the big game.
Rip left. There's the arm talent, and there's Hill. Mahomes and time again. Mahomes winds it up, wide open as Hill. How quick was that?
They're going to try to cheat Johnson across the field.
3rd and 10. Mahomes. Got it! Tyreek Hill. The finish by Hill.
But putting it inside now at the number 2 spot. It's the old high-low. The corner comes off on Kelsey. As soon as he does, Hill's able to get in right in behind it. That's why you put those two together. The number 2 spot, number 3 spot. And as soon as he comes off, it opens up.
And how about the strong hands with Sam Shields ripping right through?
Line of scrimmage, knocks him off a little bit by the other defender. He just keeps playing. Hill overran him, and Mahomes. His ability to escape, not panic, knowing that he could not take a sack in that situation. Look at that throw. I think he could have ran it in.
That's all for week 11. Thanks for tuning in, even though it's late. And like I said, please excuse me as I'm in paradise. But everybody have a great week. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Look forward to watching week 12's game today. Look for Rocky's recap earlier next week. I'll probably record again from paradise, but just sooner. Everyone have a blessed holiday. I hope you enjoyed it with the family. Everybody has safe travels. Have a great weekend.